Wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Gonna be a sparkling day. Sparkling.
Well, good morning, or whenever it is you're watching this. We are getting ready to start week 2 of the Gunstar1 build from the last Starfighter. And we're going to start that build start this week by completely ignoring the kit and doing something different. Not different so much as preparation. I've kind of warmed to the idea that this ship is going to be metallic. I don't really see the necessity of making it all metallic, so I'm going to try to break it up a little bit. But what I'm doing is, because I've only got the one, and I don't want to compound the layers of paint trying to figure out what the right combination is going to be, I've drug some old scrap kits out to test the painting on, which is, if you're not sure about doing something, is never a dumb idea. Test your painting out, test your colors out on something else, and try to approximate it as closely as possible. If you're building a resin kit, try to test your colors out on resin, on another resin kit, or if you're working on styrene, do it on styrene. It does make a difference. You go through the same exact steps. You put the primer down, you put the paint down, you've cleaned it, you've done all the same things to it, so you're going to approximate your conditions as best you can. So while you know that metallic paints and I are big enemies, we fight like cats and dogs, I have been doing some research and some looking around and some, frankly, YouTube watching and learning some techniques and watching how other people do things. And I am going to be trying this Vallejo color. It's a metal color. It's like one step above the regular Vallejo Air. They do make a very limited line of metallic paints in their regular line. Here it is, Model Air Steel, for example. And this is like one step up. And what it's going to allow me to do is hopefully to paint something this is an acrylic, this is not an enamel, so you don't have the enamel fumes and you don't have the long drying times of enamels, which are my nemesis. I will stick a thumbprint, even though I could let something sit out in the sun for a year and a half and it be dry and hard as a rock. As soon as I grab it, I'm going to put a thumbprint on it. So that's why I don't like using metallics when I don't have to. So this is an acrylic metallic. Problem with acrylic metallics is it's harder to get a good polished finish, because no matter what you do, it's not quite as self-leveling as enamels are or lacquers are. So acrylic, the closest I would say I've used to an acrylic metal that I've liked is the Tamiya Chrome Silver. It comes out, but again, you have the Tamiya problems with sometimes they don't, if you don't keep them well mixed, they don't work so well. So I'm working with this Vallejo metal, and I've got some test subjects up. I've seen on the videos that you don't necessarily have to go over black like you do, say you're using an all-clad, and those normally have to go over black. But then with all-clads, you also have fume problems, cleanup problems. They're a lot more finicky about air pressure on the airbrush. You got to tweak things just right. And really, I don't have a mind for those type of details. I like to get it out, spray it, go on to the next thing. It's probably not the most responsible way to be able to paint a model, but that's why they call me dummy. So I've got some examples. Anyone who knows what a saucer is, that's a saucer. And so, half of his people are black on the right side. Are you blind, Mr. Spock? I'm black on the left side. But I've got a test bed here for different colors and different finishes, and we're going to find out the ones that work the best and then carry those over to the Gunstar. So let's do a little bit of experimenting today. Okay, and here you see I've got the camera on a tripod today, but I've got this test case here, and I'm going to try a little area right up here, tape some of this off, and try to see how how well this metal color aluminum, this is what this is, how well it works over the black, and whether I like that better than I like how it works over the gray. And then I'm going to spray up some of this so that I could try different colors on top of it. What I'm thinking of doing is putting this aluminum as a base and then going over some of it with this ghost gray to kind of knock down the metallicness of it. And then I've got some other metal accent colors that I'm going to be using to kind of bring up panels, because simply painting the Gunstar all silver is kind of cheating to me. It just needs to have something more than that. So let's mix up some of this. It says that you should be able to use it right out of the jar, and make sure that it's well shook up and well mixed. So let's pop some of this into a gun and see how well it works. Okay, the first impressions is that this stuff goes on amazing. Almost, well, not almost, it goes on quite. There's the difference between going over the black and the gray, and that's, you know, one, I won't say one coat, but, you know, one little of these. And yes, you can see going over black does give you a little bit of a richer color, a little bit of a darker color. That may be a good indication of what I want to do for some areas of the Gunstar that I want to be darker. It would certainly be easier just to put black underneath it and then spray the silver on top of it, or the aluminum on top of that, and get your darker color that way, your accent panels. But this is every bit as shiny and nice and reflective and all that. It's not a mirror finish, but I'm sure if I put on a few more coats it would be. But it is nowhere near the fumes you would normally have to associate with a good aluminum silver finish. I don't have any fumes because it's an acrylic. And look at this, already dry, no thumbprints. See, look, doing this, I just sprayed it. Okay, some thumbprints. Don't put your thumbs in wet paint, stupid. But give it a second or two, and you are immune to the thumbprints, as long as you don't put it into the wet paint. That's an idiot. I like it. It is a much superior product than even to the Tamiya chrome silver. Because the Tamiya, sometimes you can get where it pools up and it doesn't quite give you the finish that you want. So here is, again, and goes on like a charm. Beautiful. Do a little bit down here. Flows very nicely through the airbrush. Doesn't run, doesn't spot. Very nice. Let this dry for a minute or two, and then come back over it with this ghost gray to see what kind of other finishes I can get on top of it. I want to try some washes. I want to try some colored tinting. Maybe try the Comarts so I can tint a color and see how well that goes over top. I just need to spray out some more area here so that I can try some different techniques over top of it. I'm just going to go ahead and run out what's in the brush. There you go. Okay. And again, water cleanup, which is amazing. So let's clean the brush out. Okay, what I'm going to try here, I've already tried it a little bit off camera because I'm not a complete imbecile. I want to make sure it's not going to be horribly wrong before I show myself off on video. But I've made a very diluted version of this Ghost Gray. This is Game Color from Vallejo, which comes out as a lot thicker, more like a miniature, D&D miniature color or consistency. And I've thinned that down a bit, and I'm just spraying it lightly over top of a panel that has been done in the aluminum. And not so much that it covers up the metallicness of it. I just lightly put that over that panel, and I'm still seeing the metallic showing through, but I'm getting that milky white texture or color on top of it, which is what I like better for the Gunstar than the straight up silver. It's still metallic, but it's more of a metallic white or a metallic light gray than it is a metallic silver. Let me put a bit of it over here to show you. Not so much that it covers up all of the silver, but just enough that once you really don't see the difference until you pull off the tape and see it next to the silver to show you, but there's the difference. This has got some of the ghost gray on it, and this is the straight up aluminum. And by the way, I just pulled tape off of paint that was put on less than 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes at tops, and it didn't peel any of this paint up. So there's another fine endorsement for this Vallejo metal color. But from what I can see, this gives me a nice metallic, shines through. It's not aluminum foil looking, which is frankly, I mean, it's a great look for aircraft and things like that. I don't want it for the Gunstar because I want it to look slightly otherworldly and not look like something that came out of an assembly line in the United States. So what I'm thinking is, this one I've sprayed and this one I've sprayed. I'm going to try misting this one over one more time on top of it with the silver again, just to try to bring the metallicness back up and see whether or not that is a finish that I want. But on this one, now I'm going to try to go darker with the washes. So let's try that next. Okay, working with the black washes here, and frankly it doesn't seem to be all that different than any number of other products that I've used for putting on a black wash. Maybe it plays a little bit better with its own color, but this is very much like, to me, a smoke or a Comart transparent black. Yeah, I wouldn't say there's anything remarkable about it, other than the fact that it cleans up very nice. But this could be a very interesting way or viable way to put black or darker accent panels on without the underpainting. Like I mentioned, you could underpaint, or you could just it is giving a warmer black to it, a warmer almost like an exhaust color. It's got some it's not a cool black, if that makes any sense to you. It's a warmer black. Now I'm going to try something else that I saw in the tutorials, and that was them just painting it on in panel lines. That does seem to work pretty darn good for that. Straight out of the cup here. And again, being water soluble is the key. Clean toothpick, or a clean Q-tip here. Yeah, it does seem to work. Oh, yeah, it didn't dry very quickly, and accidentally ended up wiping it off here, but that could be an interesting technique as well. Let's let that dry and see how much longer that's going to have to take. But all very valuable lessons to be learning to apply to the Gunstar. Oh, now that's interesting. That's the black on top of the gray on top of the silver. This black seems to I won't say stick better, but it seems to cover more easily over a flat gray color than it does the metallic. So what have we learned, Dorothy? Well, peel this off to see the difference that black has made. Again, this is straight aluminum, and there's with the black tint over top of it. Yeah, I think that's a very good option. I think that's what I'm going to do for the darkened panels on the Gunstar. And of course, that's the aluminum over black, as opposed to the aluminum over, this is that last panel that was, this is the gray over top of, go ahead and peel that off. That's the gray over top of the metallic, which I like. And that is the black over the metallic over the gray. So I think we're getting some good combinations here. And it's all easy and nice to practice on this before you go ahead and take it over to the actual kit. But I think between what we're looking at here is we're looking at all of the different finishes that I want to carry over to the Gunstar. So a little bit of practice, a little bit of mock-up, and that's all it takes. So now I feel better about spraying the entire Gunstar with this aluminum paint and not feeling like it's, you know, taking the easy way out. See, these ones, yeah, and they all have different levels of reflectivity based on how much paint is underneath it. But yet I was afraid of putting the ghost gray down was going to wipe out all of the reflectivity and all of the metallicness of it, and that didn't seem to be the case, which is a good thing. So now I can take all of these lessons learned and run them back onto the Gunstar, and that's the next step. Okay, I've got the engines staged. They are a one-stage engine for the basic silvering, and the lesson that I learned was, the first lesson that I learned that I am going to apply is that I do not need to paint these black first. The gray primer will be sufficient as an undercoat for the Vallejo metal color aluminum. So I'm going to put those on, give those a nice long even coat, give them plenty of a chance to dry, even though it's been proven that you can go right on top of them. I'm in no rush. So I am going to, oh, and something else I discovered off camera was that I could put Comart colors on top of these. So that's going to give me a nice opportunity for some ochres and some siennas and some browns and some accent colors on the without losing a lot of the luster of the metallic underneath. So let's give these guys a good silver coating or aluminum coating and put them aside, and then pull out the big main body and give that a good coating. Okay, they've had one quick coat of the aluminum, and I'm going to let them sit and dry for a good 20 minutes, half hour. Come back, put another light coat on there. Better to put light coats on. Multiple light coats are always better than one heavy coat, especially with metallics, because like I said, sometimes they can run and pool up on you if you put them on too heavy. So it's better to dust them and let them go from there. Okay, the time has come to paint the main body. Now this is going to take several coats and several passes from several different angles. So we're going to start with the top part, do as much as I can with what I can reach, and then flip it over and do the rest. There are parts of this that are going to be black, like these guys up here. that I'm not going to try to put any paint on. Also, the area where the engines attach, no sense wasting paint on that. So I'm going to be, also it gives me some place that doesn't have any paint on that I can handle it by. So those are the types of things I'm thinking of when I am putting the paint on this. Okay, it's time to do some more painting on the Gunstar. I have had this silver coat drying overnight. Didn't really need to because it being acrylic, although it does do that one thing about silver coats or silver paint that I always hate, which is it's very susceptible to scratching. When you are, even with your fingernails, you have to be very careful. You can scratch, you can put a mar in the paint. It's not a very bulletproof paint like some enamels can be. So watch out for that. But today I have masked off some areas that I want to keep this pure aluminum, and now and you can see there's more of those areas on the bottom than there is on the top. But what I'm going to do is put a coat of the ghost gray over top of it, and I think I'm going to mix in some of the aluminum paint in with it, just to make sure that it's not full strength aluminum. And we're going to see how well that goes. So let me throw some of this in the brush and we'll get to painting. Okay, I don't know how much of it you can tell from looking at it, but the difference is subtle, but it's there. What we've got is a much milkier, much lighter gray color on the Gunstar that is still metallic. It doesn't give up the right to be called a metallic. It still has that iridescence when you look past it, but it's not silver. Silver to me is boring, especially when you have the opportunity to make something look out of this world, no pun intended. So what I've got it on here is a couple coats of the lighter coats of the half gray, and it's about half gray and half of this metallic. And I'm going to let this dry and let it dry in and see what's going on next. Now there are three main colors on the Gunstar, and that is there's an overall body tone of the silver. I'm sorry, you may want to be looking at me while I'm talking. That's better. So there's basically three main colors on the Gunstar, and then there's some detail colors around it. There is a main overall creamy silver, which is what I've put on here. And then there's a black, which I can't understand because, you know, you're in space. Why would you have black on your ship? It seems an odd choice, especially for this CG, very early CG creation in a movie theater. You think you would want to show off a lot of your ship and not make it black and blend into the space around you. But there's a lot of black on this. I'm not going to paint it completely black. It's going to be what Tamiya calls NATO black, which is essentially a very dark gray. And so there's that, and then there is what I would call a smoke colored metal. It is darker metal, but it's not quite black. So the next thing to do is to mask off and do the black areas, so to speak, and then we'll do in the bits and bobs and detail work around that, the tones and shades, I should say. So let's get let this dry for a little bit, and then I'll come back in and mask off the black areas. Okay, I've got the main black stripes painted on, and yes, I've got some lift off. I've got more lift off here than they've had at NASA in the last 6 years, and it's all my fault. I'm going to completely own up to it. It's not the paint's fault. It's not the tape's fault. It's Lou's fault because he stuck the tape on too early. I was getting impatient and I wanted to go ahead and mask those stripes off, and I paid the price. Don't do this, kids. Let your paint dry. Yeah, I got to fix all of those. That was just a little bit of the old masking tape took care of picking up some of the gray silver that I did not let dry long enough. Impatience will get you in the end. It will bite you in the butt every single time. And I wish I had time to learn more about patience, but I just don't have the time to learn. Also darkened in that channel on the back side with a darker version of the actually that was the steel color. It's a little bit darker than the white and the white and the aluminum, or the gray and the aluminum mixture that I came up with. I did a steel version in here because I wanted that channel to be darker. But as you can see, when I rotate it in the light, it still has the it still picks up the metallic. So yes, I'm going to walk away from this thing and let it sit for a while, because everything else needs to be masked the same way, and if I am impatient with that, it's never gonna. Two wrongs do never make a right, but four rights will make a left, or three rights, one of those. Anyway, you can see the nastiness and the ugliness here. I'm going to have to go back in and fix. The problem is sanding. Sanding silver paint or metallic paint gives you all kinds of scratched up paint. So it's going to be a question of how best to remedy that. These guys here all have to get this black paint on it. These long tubes, these shapes here, get a black coating of paint on them, the same color as this, which is not actually, it looks black. It's not black. It's NATO black. It's almost black. Yeah, all four of these get painted. And then this and this, which is actually the head. These thrusters here, or these back guns, are the same design as these. They did use a lot of repeated shapes on this kit. So these also get black painted, and then these black guns go on the back, which is why I'm saying I'm surprised there is so much black on this kit. Okay, amongst the other details that need to be painted is this repeating detail. There's one of them here, one of them here, two of them on either side of the belly gun. It's part of the long strip, but this whole thing will be painted black, so I don't have to mask it off particularly or isolate it. But it's another one of these details that's just repeated all over the place. So you know me, if I've got to paint the same thing more than twice, I make a mask for it. So what I did was measure it out, cut out a few of these, and masked around it, and then taped it off with yellow tape to get me a nice clean line. And let's see if I can do this without lifting off any paint. Oh, by the way, this is how it's supposed to work. I taped these off and then sprayed them black and did not lift off a tiniest little bit of paint at all. These came out beautifully because dummy me didn't put it over newly freshly painted paint. So there's your lesson, kids. This stuff works if you let the paint dry. Okay, I had pretty good luck. These are all nice and clean. Masking didn't take off any paint underneath. Got these guys. And the nice thing about this black, or any Tamiya paint, is if you can spray it on, you're going to get much better results than if you try to hand paint it. These are the ones I'm trying to show. This on either side of that gun. And starting to work on these. These are also the same as these long ones. It's just turned around the other way. But Tamiya paints, if you can spray them, you'll get much better results than if you try to brush them on by hand. So, yay. Okay, one of the fortunate things of working on this ship the way I am is that while this part is drying, I can be working on this part. And I've got some sections here that aren't going to quite be this black. What they're going to be is the black wash over top of these, so it just darkens down the silver just a little bit. Since these are not of the body, I can be painting those while the body is drying and the putty is setting up. Okay, I've got the tape removed from the engines, and that's what we should be looking for. You've got the three different colors on here, the tinted silver and the painted NATO black. And I did that similarly on these parts here, and I think they need another coat. They're not very even. The coating isn't very even. So need to hit those with the tinted black again. And these look pretty good. I did have one bad spot where the paint lifted off, but I believe it's going to be underneath where the glue goes, or where it attaches to the wing, so it's not going to be visible anyway. So I think I just need to slow down between coats is maybe the lesson there. So what I need to do here is take all of these spots where I have primed and puttied again and hit those with a reclaimed version of the gray / silver, and then let this dry overnight before I try to come back on it and do any of the touching up or any of the other plating. I didn't let it dry sufficiently. I didn't let the gray / silver coat dry near long enough, and that's why I got the lift off that I did. So let's try to fix what I broke this morning and let it dry overnight and pick it up again tomorrow. Okay, I think I found an adequate place to leave it for today. I've got all of the bodywork touched back up, and I've put on a coat of what I'm calling the white silver. It is it's not quite full strength aluminum. It's got a lot of the ghost gray in it, which brings out the pearliness of it. So yeah, a little bit of a one step back, one step forward type of thing. But I'm going to let this dry completely overnight before I go back in to try to paint those things black tomorrow and touch these black parts up that got overspray on them, and the black, all of that stuff that I shouldn't have been messing with that I messed with. I'm going to let this sit up and take notice. I'm going to let it set up overnight. Well, hello and howdy do. It is Wednesday morning, and a fine day it is today. We are going to first paint in the black on these 4 long strips, and I've got it all taped off. And the secret of today's activity is going to be to take my bloody time. Yesterday I rushed through some stuff, and as a result of that, I didn't let paint dry sufficiently, and as a result of that, paint lifted up when I pulled the tape off. Well, I sealed this last night, and I've left it drying overnight for this, the satin layer to cure, so that hopefully I won't have that problem today. So I'm going to go ahead and take my time and paint these guys, and then let that dry, and then remove all the tape, and then retouch the black bits from yesterday that got painted over or oversprayed when I repaired the main body color, which is these guys. They should be easy enough to touch up because I don't have to do a full-on covering coat. I only have to touch them up, so I shouldn't have to mask off as much or put as much paint down, and that's the secret. So let's, you know what the problem with this kit is? There's no good way to stand it up because it's got these 2 points here. If I had left these off until last, it would stand up and be more stable, and I could, have a lot more ease painting it. But the only thing I have found that works is to take one of these craft paint bottles and balance the whole thing on it like that, and that seems to be the only way that it will give me but it's kind of precarious, it's kind of shaky. So that's the best I can do as far as a stable platform on which to paint. So let's get some of the NATO black in the brush and get some spraying done. Let us spray, brothers and sisters. Okay, I've taken the opportunity to paint the black on those 4 horizontal posts, and I also went back in and repainted these guys on all 4 sides. So I am now to that tenuous part of the build where I say to leave it alone, let it dry. This black is kind of fragile. It chips, it scratches very easily. So I want to let it cure and then very carefully remove the tape, and then probably hit it with another clear coat to protect that black paint before I do any more accent painting on panels and such. So now is the exciting part where we watch the paint dry. Well, the fact that you see me out in the regular dining room means that something is going on in the studio, which is the plotters happily plotting an order. as we get close to Wonderfest, everybody's getting their last requests in for templates for sale there. So I have to move out here, and what's happened is I've got all the tape taken off around the black bars, for lack of a better term, and I'm going to put a quick coat of the clear semi-gloss, or the satin, on this to protect it so that I can go on to the next step without worrying about scratching this paint. For some reason this black is very susceptible to wear and scratches and dings. So a coat of paint, or a coat of clear coat it gets. Welcome back, children. It is Thursday, gateway to the weekend. Man, these weeks are just flying by. Finally starting to get some color down. All these silvers are getting a bit monotonous after a while. Seems to be popular conception that these panels here should be a metallic blue. Luckily, I have a metallic blue. But we are dangerously close to starting to get ready for decals. I have gotten the, start putting the details on the ship. I've got the guns on the front and on the back. So those actually makes it easier for those to paint too, because you're not trying to hold them with tweezers or anything. You can paint them in place. Got last night, let's see, after the report was filed, after I finished taping last night, I've got to darken down the rest of that back, or that, you know, that little channel in there. Got to darken that back down. Going to do that today. I'm going to I had resilvered those engine bells there, and I'm going to darken those a little bit, and this is all with the black wash, black wash, not backwash, black wash. And then we are going to be ready to start putting some decals down. I'm also working on the cabin details, the like I called it earlier, the easy chair of doom. I can start. I've been working on the pilots. Not a lot of color on them. They have pretty drab uniforms. And the Lincoln Memorial chair. Getting that kind of stuff ready. Here's the ring of fire. Got the gun bays done, and I know what these are supposed to look like, but I'm telling you, I'm thinking of taking the main missiles in the center there and putting red on the heads of those, just because I think it'll make a nice detail when the doors are open. Just give a little pop of color to do the top of those missiles in red. So I'm going to do that before I glue them down. And then we're going to be ready for a final gloss coat for decaling. And decals are really when you're going to start to see a lot of the color pop into this ship. It's especially this big decal here and the pennants that go down the side. I am going to paint these guys in. They look like twos. They look. It's this decal there, what I call a bit of a two, for lack of a better term. These guys, but rather than trust the backing on those decals, when you've got that much black around it plus the panel behind it, it's just easier to paint those. So what I've done is I've made masks of them with how well you can see them. There you go. And I'll just put those in place, and I'm going to paint the white on top of it. Probably not a real white, probably this this ghost gray, because I don't want a real stark white on this thing. But that's fun times that are coming up. But I'm going to have to give this thing a coat of clear before I can do that. So where I'm at right now is putting the black wash coat on those. Okay, all of the templates are down for the markings, and although it's something I don't agree with, it is how it's supposed to be. I double checked some footage from the film, and even though all of the decals on the sheet are identical, you know, my history with arguing with decals, the markings are not left and right-handed. You would figure that if this was meant to be the marking, that the opposite would be on that side. But it is identical on both sides, which I guess saves time in the, or saved time in the processing of it. But the those are the same way all the way around. They're not, you know, they're not mirrored for the sides. So now that they're all down, and I noticed that on the long colorful stripes too. It's not like the pink stripe is up on both sides. They are identical. So what I'm going to do now is get some of that gray paint, mix it up, and first I'm going to tape off the perimeters there, and then I'm going to paint these guys and see how that turns out. Okay, all the markings have been painted, and the nice thing is after I put the gray on there, I was able to give them a little squirt of the silver to make them iridescent. So I'm going to let this dry for a good long time and then pull these masks off a little later. And who knows, this might be ready for a good gloss coating so that overnight, so that tomorrow I could start putting decals down on it. I've already got the parts of the engines gloss coated that are going to get decals, so I believe I am going to decal the engines at least tonight. I got this one spot that I had to fix. It seems like, well, they're getting smaller and smaller, but it seems like every time I start something or mess with something, I end up either scratching a piece. I found out I was doing it with my little pinky finger, was actually scratching the paint because I was using it to rest on the paint when I was painting something else, and I was coming across and scratching it. And that black, this guy here, the black wash, is very susceptible to scratches, which is no good. NG, not bueno. And so there I had to repair that a few times. Like the backs of these engines all had to be repaired and repainted. And the grand scheme for these is after they've been decaled, I will flat coat them all, get them back to their final finish, and then after I've flat finished them, I am going to go in with as fine an airbrush as I can muster and spray the engine scoring on here, here, and there, and in the back to kind of make them look used. But they won't have all that much use because this is a brand new ship after all. Not a lot of scoring on it. Let's see. Here you've seen that's 2 coats of the metallic silver, or sorry, the metallic blue, just painted on by hand, and boy do I like that. Now I may go back in and mask that area off and put silver, the straight aluminum on those little hatches there. I might see how that looks, but I'm liking that a lot. I put the red on the missile heads, just on the center, and I like that a lot. So those are ready to be glued in. So we're coming down to the wire on it. I figured I wanted to at least work on these engines separately from the rest of the body while it is drying. You know, that's just best to have 2 different things that I can be working on. 3 if you count interior details. So those are setting up. Let's get the table cleaned off for one, and then get down to the decaling of these engines. Well, I guess I get to do a little bit of bitching and moaning about decals anyway. Decals are supposed to be what they say on the instructions. Now let's take number 15 for example. 15 says red stripe below small thrusters 8 times. Well, they only give you 6 of them, so you can't do it 8 times. So I'm only going to do it 4 times. I'm going to make them symmetrical and not do it. It's that one right there, that little short. You're supposed to do 1 there and 1 there, but they don't give you enough decals to do all of it. And I thought that this decal here was supposed to wrap all the way around. It does not. It is not long enough, so we have to make a decision to make it start and stop on either side of that panel line, which is, you know, if I had looked carefully, what they do show in, if you look up there, you see that that red line stops there. So I wish it would have gone the whole way around, but like that one and that one, you don't see that angle. That's the only one you see that angle on. So, or that view of it. Plus, you've got to cut all of these out. There is no carrier. I mean, the whole sheet is carrier film, but there is no, you know, just carrier around the decal. So everything you cut off of that sheet is going to be carrier film. So you have to carefully trim those. And let me do the other three. And the decals are down on the engines. Now the great news is these decals, for whatever I may think of their design, their manufacture is excellent. They hold up very well. They're very tough. They just take a drop of water. You don't have to sit them in the water forever, and sometimes that can be a pain, especially as long as I've had this kit. And it's not always been, you know, hermetically sealed and kept in a mason jar underneath Funk and Wagnall's front porch. It's sometimes decals they're a nifty thing. And if you've got a garage kit that you have been sitting on the decals for a while, you're rolling the dice as to whether or not they're going to come out fine. But these ones did. That's good news. Yay, I'm happy about that. So we let these dry, and I might do some more decaling tonight on this if I get a good coat of spray. But I know what? I think I just want to spray it and let it go overnight and come back to it fresh tomorrow. I don't want to risk putting decals on clear coat that isn't quite set up. So, hey, let's take the masking off of the insignia and see how they turned out. And here we have the markings with the masks removed. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I did have to do some touch-up manually on those because I had mixed up the paint too runnily. It was too runny, and it did go underneath the masking material a bit. But not so bad. Not so bad. Certainly better than using the decals for this situation. So we're going to let this sit for a couple of hours, and before I hit the hay this evening, I will put a coat of clear on it so that it can be curing all night. I decided I want to take a minute or two and take off the masks off of the canopy. Again, that's something I can do without touching anything else, so I think it came out pretty sharp. There are two tiny little fins that need to go on the top there that I need to find and paint and glue on. But coming along nicely, coming along nicely. Hello and welcome back. It is Friday morning, and it's Big Decal Day. And big decals are these guys. And I've always said, if you doesn't matter how well you do the rest of your job, if you screw up the big decals, you might as well put your model in a shelf, in a box in the back of a cabinet, because that's all people are going to talk about is how bad your main big decals are. So get these done, get them out of the way, and then concentrate on the smaller guys. So what I'm going to do is I have coated this with a clear coat, gloss coat. It has dried. I am going to be putting on the 4 biggest decals. Then I'm going to set the whole ship aside to dry, probably for a good few hours, so that, or at least go around and touch things that aren't involved with this main body for a few hours to let those set up really well before I start putting the nitpicky little decals in. So let's get down to it. I've trimmed them out. They are have a minimum amount of carrier film around them. I've got the water nice and warm. I've got the paper towels ready. I've got everything else ready. Got the Solvaset ready. Let's go ahead and put them down. Okay, I don't know why that cut off, but it did. And I hate to tell you, the decal is down. It's beautiful. It's lovely. I'll go ahead and do the other one. I was only going to do this one. I was only going to do this one on camera, but since the camera is didn't agree with me, I am going to go ahead and do the next one. Now I am just getting the last bit of pressing out the last bit of air bubblage from underneath these, but these decals are in beautiful shape, especially for their age. I mentioned that yesterday. I don't even know for sure how many years I've had this on the shelf, and these decals are working like a champ. So that one is down and down beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one down. Like I said before, all I did was pop it in the water, let it sit for a few seconds, twiddled my thumbs for a bit, pulled it out, put it on the paper towel, and then I rubbed a little bit of water in the area. Now this has got that gloss coating on it, and you can see by how well the water is beating up that the gloss coating did take. So look at that, 2 seconds and it slides off. Beautiful. So I just pop this guy at the beginning of the top of the recess. Look at that, beautiful. Now I just need to finagle it into place. This one's not going on quite as easily as the last one did. I think it's because it knows it's on camera. So I take a little bit of water and get the water underneath it so that it wants to slide. That's why they call them water slide decals, kids. And a little bit of jimmying. And there you most definitely go. So, 2 big successes on the 2 big decals. Give this model a moment to heal. And I do believe that models experience shock. When you've painted a lot or built a lot, they do experience a shock that they need to be left alone and return to a state of equilibrium before you do the next step. So those are beautiful. Look at that. Just adds all kinds of color to your kit. And now I am going to do these sideways ones. But those are going to be done off camera. Ha. Well, that's just pretty. I take back all my reservations about these decals. They're going on like champs. Look at that. Just really adds all the color back into this kit that was lacking, because I was seeing silver and black and silver and black and silver and black and blah blah blah. But see, now you see the color added to it, and it really brings it to life. Really makes it pop. Let's get the rest of them done. Okay, the 4 main decals are on and drying, and against my own better judgment, I've decided to go ahead and put these decals that go down these sides on as well, because I think that's a good leaving spot, and then I can go concentrate on the decals that go on the 4 doors. So I've got one setting up here, and I'm getting ready to put those guys on. And these side decals are on. So yes, adds all kinds of color. So this is at a perfect spot to leave it the frack alone for a while. This is where I usually get myself in trouble by wanting to get my grubby paws on things while they should be drying. So let it dry. These doors I can manhandle completely and away from the rest of that, and that's what I'm going to concentrate on now. Bring these guys up to the front, and each of those on the outside get a set of these decals, and it's a question of doing them in each of the 3, pretty much each of the 3 corners. So let's get to doing those. Okay, I've got a lot of the little fiddly bit decals done. I've got all the decals on those 4 Death Blossom hatches. I've got the, how well you can see them in here, but I've got the decals on the gunner station. And on Greg's chair. And playing around with the little fiddly bits. There were a couple more that went underneath the, or right below those engine bells, and in the channels right in there. So yeah, it's down to the tiny ones, and the more I do them, the more time I need to kind of regroup between runs, because they are tiny. And I gotta tell you though, the quality of the decals is very good. Even the tiniest ones go in place without ripping or tearing or twisting or folding back on each other, which is the demon of all decals when they fold back on each other, on themselves. Boy, you hate to see that happen. So I'm down to the little red hash marks here and there, and I'm going to let this sit up and dry before I get to those, because they are in areas that I need to touch, areas where I have got decals on them, and work around those. So letting that dry, maybe go out and grab some lunch. Okay, it is mid-afternoon on Friday, and I'm starting to think about what I want to get done. I'm obviously not going to finish this week. I've still got so many little details to do, mostly involving the cockpit, but I still haven't come up with a stand that I am 100% happy with. I've got this 3-point stand, but it's not as elegant as I would like it to be, so still thinking about the stand, but there's one last thing I think I can do today that will be nice and big and showy, and that will be to glue the engines down to the 4 points and then let that set up that way over the weekend. So what I'm going to do is pull out some CA and glue these guys down. Hopefully it'll give me a more stable balancing point to stand this up on as well. This foam is nice, but this kit is so unwieldy, or actually the subject, the kit can't help but be the kit, but the subject is so unwieldy that it doesn't want to stand in any particular one way. And since I'm not using the landing gear, it makes it all the more difficult. So let me see if I can put some engines on this thing. And here is where we're going to leave it for the week. You know, I like to stage these things for my videos at the last, to show the latest bit of results. Of course, these wings are not glued in. I'm going to have to file those down to make sure they fit a little flusher anyway. And of course, this canopy is not attached. But as you can tell by the slowly dwindling pile of pieces, I'm down to the last tiny bit of detail work. Getting the Death Blossom bays tricked out, and getting these flanges put on, and of course getting the cockpit sorted out is what's going to be all that's left. And then I got to come up with some kind of stand. Like I said, I'm not wowed about the stand that I've got. And then of course there's this piece to detail. I may want to paint that and put some funky lettering over it. So or maybe some, if I could find any chrome vinyl, I think that might look nice. So that's my job for the weekend, is try to figure out how I want to finish this off. And then next week we will come back and do those things to it. And as the sun sinks slowly in the west, we come to the end of another week on the Gunstar. 2 of 3, obviously. It's not going to take me another whole week to do it, but I didn't want to rush to get it done just for the sake of getting it done in 2 weeks. There's no prize in it for getting it done quickly. So I'm going to ponder what's left to do and what the next kit may be. See if I've got time to squeeze in another kit. There could be... Nah, I'm just thinking I might want to do another Proteus before Wonderfest and take that one with the finished new kit. But to do that, I am waiting for Paul's etch to come in the mail. And as soon as that happens, if I deem that I have enough time to do it justice, because I only want to build another one of those. If I have time to think that I can do it justice, then I might start and get the Proteus done. It's not going to take forever because I've worked out the kinks the first time. All I got to do is remember what I did last time. But that's a subject for another day. Right now I'm concentrating on the Gunstar, almost have it finished, and trying to come up with some appropriate bases the next thing. So until next week, when we will see how this all turns out, tune in and we'll all discover that together. So until next week, I'm saying to you that you should be good to each other. Go outside and play. Don't forget, there's a big bad world out there. And we'll see you next time around.